Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning. जो भी कह सकते हो आप. Hope you all are doing great. So, what is lean startup? When we say lean startup, just break it into words and think what is lean. Is it just being slim in general terms? Lean personality. If we understand the lean and I don't know anything about a startup or I'm not from any business environment, then what will I think about it? First thing is that. Second thing, lean startup came in around 2009 when Eric Ries, if you see, so this is the book actually, The Lean Startup, written by Eric Ries, and from this book, the all concept brought to this world that there is something called lean in even in the kind of business sense or business innovation or a startup world. Otherwise, before this, it was like the traditional startup. You write the business plan, you go to the investors, you raise the funds, then you build the team, then you make the product, then you test it. If it's good, then good. Otherwise, retest it, redevelopment, and the process goes on, goes on, goes on till you crack the right product or right customer base. So, lean startup talks about. And before going into that lean startup, I would like to quick recap what we did in the previous sessions. We have done some prototyping wala thing and business model canvas. We have also seen the startup planning, legal and ethical steps. So this is our third talk, and in this we are going to talk about the lean startup. Lean startup, if we see the meaning of lean here, is just about the maximizing values and minimizing waste. The term lean startup actually coined by Eric Ries, who is the researcher at Harvard Business School, and he is also the founder of an internet website IMVU. The core idea of this lean startup is avoiding the waste of time and resource when developing a new product or services. It can be done inside an organization, or it can be done again with a new idea, a new system, a new company, a new startup. So what this method advocates is developing products that consumers have already demonstrated that they desire it, so that a market will already there when the product is launched. Means a beta testing, if a product has already a beta testing in the market, you can start working on that product. You can develop that product according to you or according to the needs you understand the customers have, and then you can just place it into the market and try it. It always talks about fail faster. Don't take much time to fail. If you can fail faster, you can rebuild it faster. Approach to building a new business on the belief that entrepreneurs must investigate, experiment, test, reiterate as they develop product. You don't have time to do everything, every documentation in the back, and then go to the product development. From the day one, you start developing product, and you will learn everything, other everything in the process. The point number one is lean here is focusing on reducing the time, as it thinks time is a waste, and the resources, the other resources we are wasting like money, like the team. So just concentrate on building the product, and while the process you will learn everything. So how it being done, the company begins by getting it to the market to ask a question of potential clients, that what all about the elements of the business model, product features, price. The startup creates the MVP. We will learn about the minimum viable product and the customer's feedback, and based on the answer obtained, it aims for new redevelopment, final or idealizing the final product. So what is the difference between lean startup and traditional startup? How it is different? Lean startup basically eliminates all time and efforts on planning part. Lean startup does not advocates that you should have a table talk and you should gather the team first and you just brainstorm that how to do what to do. It says just start, just kick off from where you are, whatever you have. But while the traditional startups always focuses on, as I said, writing business plan, going to the investors, going to the incubators, and doing all sorts of things that a traditional startup does. In lean startup, list documentation involved. They don't bother about that what kind of documentation we have or we don't. But traditional startup needs a set of documentation. How in the hiring process even the lean startup differentiates because they don't hire anyone on the basis of their academics or their degrees or their experience. They just hire someone who is eager to learn, eager to fail, and eager to rise. While traditional startups or companies always hire on the basis of the academics or experience. In financials matter, again lean startup uses metrics like customer acquisition cost or churn rate or lifetime value of the customer. But traditional startup at the same time uses balance sheet, profit and loss, and different type of ratios to show its financial health to its investor. Going forward, we have the methodology of lean startup. So if you will go through this book, this is the one of the best book written on the lean startup. I would recommend everyone to go through it because I read it around an year back, and when it came to me कि lean startup पे बात करनी है, तो I was like, okay, so that book. So it always works. The methodology goes like it. You have to build, you have to measure, you have to learn and innovate. And this is the loop, build, measure, learn loop of the lean startup. It always goes on. With the obstacles like they don't have the complete business plan, they don't have the tested market needs even sometime. And of course, funding is required, so they don't have inadequate funding if they are working on a new idea or on a new startup. So the lean startup advocates about fail faster, and it's good. If you are going to fail, fail faster. So we will see each of the methodology, each of the part of it in detail, and we'll try to understand how it goes. So it starts from, uh, if you see, the goal of any startup is to figure out the right thing to build. It all starts with a vision. And instead of making complex B plan and try to implement everything, just go into build, measure, learn feedback loop as quickly and cheaply as possible. Here your strategy comes. Here the product which is the result of the strategy comes too. Product change constantly through the process of optimization and innovation. In every batch, in every lot, the product will have different features. The product will serve a bit more than from their previous versions. Then it comes to define and learn. It all comes into start phase. It all comes into the build phase. Build, measure, learn. So what is define and learn thing in this? So innovation is bottoms up, of course, unpredictable thing. And customer do not tell us what they want. If you go and if you have any idea in your mind, some kind of revolutionary ideas or even those ideas which you try to replicate and you try to understand the customer point of view, they will not tell you exactly what they want. You have to understand it through their actions, through their talks sometime. Now question is, can you validate your hypothesis without building anything? Yes, you can. Run an experiment and measure the customer behavior. The question is not, can this product be built? Because almost everything can be done in this world. The better question is, should this product be built, or can I make some kind of business around this product? Because if you have seen Shark Tank, there were many products out there who does not have any kind of business building capacity around them. The product were very good, but they don't have the business building capacity around them. So can this product build a business for me, or just for building anything you are building it? And don't follow the just do it. Think, if you cannot gain any validated learning through it, then there is no point of making any product. Do not find the average customer. These are kind of the summary of the book, you can say, because I read that book almost 5 6 times it. So I can write all these PPTs again and again. So what I believe, finding early adopters is always better than finding the average customers, because early adopters can even spare you if you do some mistake, because it is more than just the theoretical inquiry. It is also about the first product, and the first product is nothing just but your MVP. That is the second thing of this second topic of this presentation, the minimum viable product. And always remember, success is not delivering feature, success is learning how to solve the customer's problem. So there are some drivers which can be which can help us to complete this methodology. We have 4 questions to ask. Do consumer recognize that they have the problem you are trying to solve? If there was a solution, would they buy it? Would they buy it from us? Can we build a solution for that problem? And two hypotheses we have. One is growth hypothesis and second is value hypothesis. Does a product or service really deliver the value to the customers once they are using it? Design experiment that proves this by their actions. Don't use surveys always. If you look many products around you, they have a value hypothesis. They actually deliver the value to the customers, and that customers is never going to tell that in any kind of survey. The growth hypothesis. The growth hypothesis always talks about how will new customer discover a product or service. That how you will be growing once you create the value, then how you will be growing after that. So it comes then steer, and here it comes also the MVP. Better the product, any kind of product startup builds are really experiments. Might be through softwares or through some kind of FMCG product, or like boat started making headphones or headgears. So everything, and a startup builds every product is really experiment learning about how to build a sustainable business through it. So focus your energy on minimizing the total time through build, measure, learn feedback loop. Test the most important assumptions, the value and the growth hypothesis first with the MVP. The MVP is the version of the first product that enables a full turn of the loop with the least amount of time and effort. If you are building something and nobody's want, it doesn't matter how much time or in budget you are making it, right? So coming up to the leap, if we see the Facebook, we always say Facebook is the product of the lean startup, or Facebook is the MVP, still MVP. More than half of the users comes back to the website every single day. That means the product, the website is creating a kind of value for them. And this is how a company can validate its value hypothesis. The customers finds it valuable that they are keep coming on every single day. There would be many people who just log in once a week or once a 2 or 3 days or might be never. But out of all the user base of Facebook, how many are coming? Returned. The return customers, how much you have. So the goal of any startup early effort should be test their assumptions as quickly as possible. Anything you have in your mind, just make it, place it in the market or to the potential customer. Fail faster. If it is not working, it's good. It's better that it is not working. You have understood that what to do now, how to change the product. Many entrepreneurs were in the right place at the right time but still failed. So you have to actually the archetype, customer archetype, you have to understand that who are your targeted customer and what kind of product you have to build for them. So the product target and the customer target, the goal of the product and the need of the customer must align with each other in the future way. So minimum viable product is the first version of the product. As we have also seen, the first product are never meant to be perfect. Early adopters are suspicious of something that is too polished. Like if you see nothing phone is very much hyped, do you think nothing product, nothing phone 1 is the MVP, or it is a product of the lean startup? Early adopters are not going to adopt the product because if it will be too polished, like if iPhone 15 or iPhone 14 comes, I don't know which version is running right now. So if the next version of iPhone comes and they will focus on early adopters. Early adopters are not coming to buy it. The complexity of any MVP depends upon the idea and the industry. It could be as simple as an ad or the complex working prototype. It just depends on what assumption you need to test. Always ask before placing any MVP in the market, what if they don't care about the design in the same way we do? And when you will ask this question, you will start thinking from the customer's perspective that okay, this is the product and I have to place it in the market. Now I'm the customer and I got this product. Now what I will think about this now. As you build an MVP, remove any feature, process or any effort that does not contribute to the learning you seek. Very clear, MVP is for your understanding, your learning, the customer's feedback. So what are the types of MVP? We have video MVP, concerts MVP, and the wizard MVP. Like you can simulate the technology. Like if you are making the next Paytm, you can tell people that okay, we are building the next Paytm. So people will have already an idea that what you are going to do, or you can go through the traditional way of growth model, or you can just explain the concept through video MVP and ask people to sign it up. So coming to the measure, so it was all the build part. So coming to the measure, are you making your product better? How do you know it? A good design is one that changes customer behavior for the better and the greater good. You need a clear baseline metric, a hypothesis that will improve that metric, and a set of experiments. A startup has to measure progress against a high bar. So always use split test experiments where different versions of a product are offered to customers at the same time. So customer can tell you, okay, this version is working for me, or some set of customers will say no, version of 2.0 or 3.0 is working better for me. So measure your productivity according to the validated learning, not in terms of the production of new features. And this is the 3A of matrix where action, accessible, and auditable. These 3A are the best matrices for validated learning and to understand and to seek the learning from the MVP you have placed in the market. So how to preserve, how to pivot. First thing, start now. No matter if any Amazon, if you see every one of us use Amazon is the product of lean startup, or Amazon is a MVP when it was launched. Low quality MVPs only works for early adopters because mainstream customers may not have that kind of inclination towards it. A true measure of a runway is how many pivot a startup has left. When an entrepreneur has unclear hypothesis, it's almost impossible to experience a complete failure. And without that failure, it again impossible to experience the success. Coming to the accelerate, we are studying the measure part. So every organization is working in an extreme or uncertain environment. The value of any startup is not creation the stuff, but of the validated learning. What products do customer really want? How will our business grow? Who is our customer? And which customer should we listen to and which should we ignore? So while you are trying to accelerate your business as you have launched your MVP, so these are the questions you need to ask to yourself or your team needs to ask. So who is your customer, or which customer you should ignore? Sometime you should ignore few feedbacks, and you must have the set of those customers जिनको नहीं सुनना है, to whom you should ignore at any cost. Ignorance is bliss sometime. So you have to understand from that perspective too. Again, when it comes to batch, small batches, faster learning, if you make a few products in one batch, you can understand more, you can give it to the more serious customers. You can deploy the continuous learning system. You have the ability to learn faster from the customers because in competition everyone is trying to do that, and it is not the customer but rather our hypothesis about the customer that pulls work from product development and other functions. So coming up to the growth, the engine of growth is the mechanism that a startup use to achieve sustainable growth. So sustainable growth means when a new customer comes from the actions of your past customer. A startup can evaluate whether it is getting closer to product or market fit by measuring the direction and the degrees of progress. So there are four ways past customer drive your sustainable growth. The word of mouth as a side effect of product uses like Amazon, through funded advertising, as these are the ways of traditional growth drivers, through repeat purchase or use when your customer repeats its purchase with you. Three engines of growth, that is sticky engine, viral engine, paid engine. if your churn rate is lesser than the natural growth rate, then the growth rate will be positive always. You have to understand a bit about the viral coefficient. How many new product will use a product as a consequences of each new customer who signs up. Means a customer comes at your website, then how many new customers will come as the result of that sign up? And if it is greater than one, means each person who signs up will bring one more person with them. So it works as a virality. The product has or the service has, whatever you are offering has a virality and and a value to making the behavior different of the customers for a greater good. And what are the paid engines? It is a kind of money you spend on the advertisement you to digital marketing or offline marketing, or you you are just paying it for the customer acquisition cost, and these all will be considered as a CAC, or the customer lifetime value. It will be got deducted from that too. So coming to the adapt, use 5 whys always. Training is important to focus. Whenever something goes wrong, how could I prevent myself from being in this situation ever again? Just ask this. Use the 5 whys whenever the new problems comes up. Everyone who is connected to the problem needs to be at the meeting when 5 whys is being discussed. And what are the 5 whys? It is just the systematic flow of 5 WHY. Like if you see the example, if I say the problem statement is my client refused to pay the progress payment. Why? The question here is the why did the client refuse to pay the progress payment? So if the answer is because we have completed the activity late. The second question is why did we complete the activity late? Because the activity took longer than estimated time or effort or the resources. Why did the activity take longer than estimated? Because we could not procure enough material for the activity. Question 4, why didn't we bring enough material? Because we didn't purchase on time. Question number 5, why didn't we purchase material on time? Because we didn't analyze the work schedule. And here the question is, here the root of all the problems, that we had fault in our analysis, and this is the consequences. This is the cause. If you see the root cause analysis of the 5 whys, 5 whys always suits for me when I have to deep down and understand the exact root problem of any question or any situation that led to here, that led to the client refused to pay the payment. So if we see the minimum viable product, again it is a product with the enough feature for the early adopters. It started the origin of MVP from this book only, by Eric Ries. The purpose of it is, it is the version of the new product. Minimum viable product is helps you to understand what customer needs or what customer requires to be like the ideal product of this kind. So MVP can also help minimize the time and resource and maximize the value, or you can start to have the validated learning. When you are defining your MVP, make sure you planned MVP align the business objective. Start identifying a specific problem you want to solve or the improvements you want to make to the user persona. Translate your MVP functionality into the plan of development action. Means it does not be like MVP we have placed in the market. it is working, not working, we are not getting any kind of learning through it, or we are not learning in the coming upcoming versions of the MVP before the final product launch. So these are few noted examples of MVP: Amazon, Facebook, Dropbox, Airbnb, Groupon, and these all are the unicorn. These all are the tech giants as of now. Some lean startup examples: Slack. Slack is one of the common used platform for professional communication inside the any organization. Dropbox, People, Buffer. Buffer is a website where you can place all your social media platforms, whether Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, everything, and you can tell them when to post uh, any post you have to make on the Facebook. Like you have to post any picture at 4 p.m. today, you can just go and make an account on Buffer, and you will place the photo, and they will update you on behalf of at 4 p.m. or the time set by you. So these all are the unicorns. They all use the lean startup methodology. They still are in the loop of build, measure, learn. And the five takeaways, if we see from the lean startup session or lean startup book, there is a process to entrepreneurship that can be learned. And the process is build, measure, learn, the loop. Be in that loop always. The goal of a startup is to figure out the right thing to build, the thing customers want and will pay for as quickly as possible. Time is a waste. You are wasting your time if you are taking 6 months to understand, or 6 months to survey, or 6 months to brainstorm about the product. Customer do not tell us what they want. They reveal the truth through their action or inaction. Test and validate your value and growth hypothesis always. Try testing it. If you see, in last 2 3 years, Amazon have added so many features. Some of the features some people like, some of the features some people do not. Use MVP cycle to cycle through the build, measure, learn full feedback loop as fast as possible. So MVP is also can be used as a tool to understand the feedback or the build, measure, learn loop. So this is the kind of summary of this book, or you can say the lean startup.